Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I mentioned I was doing these shows a little bit early today. I will do a typical show at 5 like I normally do, but I wanted to get a few more out of the queue. And this one bugged me to no end. I found this to be a bombshell, particularly in regards to its importance to the fucking world. Before I go into that, let me make sure sound and everything else is intact. Yes. Good. Good. The world's good. First, guys, like I start my shows off now, I usually say thank you to the patrons and people who give and donate super cash during these views. You guys are immensely appreciated. Thank you very much. Under normal circumstances, I try to recount whatever the person is saying. Meaning if someone sends super cash to say something interesting, say something that you want to get across to the rest of the world. And mind you, the rest of the world is our little sandbox, but whatever. You know, but whatever. Thank you very much. You guys are immensely appreciated. I saw the story today, and I didn't understand why it wasn't more of a bombshell to everyone else. So let me start here. Do you remember during the Obama era, Obama was arming terrorists to undermine the Syrian government because Obama didn't like the Syrian government. Now, undermining terrorists to undermine the Libyan government and then using the air force of the military, or the United States, France, and Britain, the Wonder Triplets, to destroy it ultimately, has put that country into essentially a dumpster fire. That failure in no way stopped him from wanting to just take the failure up a notch and do the same thing to Syria. Now, Russia worked in coordination with Syria on this, meaning the Syrian government, the actual government of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, and whoever else, whatever his cronies, his government, this is a government, this is a real thing, just like the United States government is a real thing, it's a conceptual thing, but yes, there are people there. The government, in the same way, gains power from the people of the United States with the two parties, even though people in the country, for the most part, don't trust this government at all. I think it's like a 9% approval rating. They still consider that government, with that 9% approval rating, to be the actual government of the United States. The Syrian government is the actual government of Syria. That government that has the responsibility of leading that country, whatever you want to think of it, has a responsibility of leading that country, is working in coordination with Russia. They're working in coordination with undermining and destroying terrorist elements that are attempting to take over their government. People who are supporting the terrorist elements are the United States of America. That's us. The Obama administration was giving aid and comfort to terrorists to undermine the government to which it did not like. Now, I'm trying to stress the importance of that government is working in coordination with Russia, meaning from a legality standpoint, Russia and Syria are in the right. The country that's arming terrorists are not in the right. It is not in the right. Us, we're not in the right. You're arming terrorists. You can understand why Russia would say this. Russia calls United States move to better arm Syrian rebels a hostile act. This could have also been written, Russia calls the United States move to better arm terrorists a hostile act. The Kremlin says that move puts Russian force under direct threat. That's common sense, right? If the Syrian government is in alignment with the Russian government, and they are legally working together to get rid of terrorists who are trying to undermine that government, if you are arming the terrorists, then you can understand that Russia is saying, since we are working in coordination militarily, if you're arming terrorists to attack us, you are in effect attacking us. You are putting Russian troops in the line of fire. That's logic. That's straightforward. Now, before you say, well, Russia is just, they're just making it up. They're making a big deal out of this. You have this. This is February 3rd, 2018. This is not 20 years ago. This is now, a few days ago. United States-backed Free Syrian Army Group shoots down Russian jet and kills pilot. Russia complains, if you arm them, you're in effect arming terrorists. And those terrorists are going to use those weapons that you're giving them against us, Russians. If you do that, that is a hostile act. Now, the United States Democrats have been screaming at the top of their lungs that hacking an election that they can no in way prove that was hacked is considered an act of war. What the fuck is this? You are literally giving weapons in order to take down Russian forces. You're talking about a hack that you can't prove took place is an act of war. What the fuck is this? You're killing Russians with American aid. Let's keep going. Russia says it will attack United States planes bombing the Syrian military. Just to be clear, Russia has an alignment with Syria. The governments of both of those countries are in alignment with one another, meaning whatever policy or whatever else they're going with, it's legal. They're within the confines of their own legalities, whatever they make those legalities to be. I'm just saying, the governments themselves have agreed. The governments are the ruling parties in both of those countries. And the ruling parties of both of those countries have agreed that within Syria, the place that we know as Syria, we are going to try to push out the terrorists in that region of the world. The United States has made a decision to fund the terrorists in that region of the world. You can see the problem here. The problem here is not the Russian government and Syrian government. The problem here is the United States, as the United States is arming terrorists. And the terrorists that the United States is arming is putting Russian troops in the line of fire. The terrorists that the United States is arming has shot down a Russian jet. Russia responded to the shoot down of their jet. Video shows precision strikes on militants who downed a Russian jet in Syria. The Russian Ministry of Defense has released footage of a precision strike targeting terrorists in Syria. The attack was in retaliation for early downing of the Su-25 jet and killing the pilot on the ground. Now, what I'm trying to show here is this progression. Russia says it will attack United States planes bombing the Syrian army. Now, just so we're very clear and everybody is on the same page, Syria is not on the border of North Carolina. Syria is not on the border of Texas. Syria is not anywhere near the United States at all. The United States is attacking some other country using terrorists and using military assets. They're attacking another country illegally. There is no constitutional order to do this. The United States, against its own laws, against international law, is arming terrorists and attacking Syria. Part of the reason that people voted for Trump over Clinton was because Clinton wanted to put a missile defense shield in Syria that would have most likely started a nuclear war if she shot down a Russian jet. Under this by itself, Russia says it would attack United States planes bombing the Syrian military. That by itself means if you're attacking the Syrian military, you are, for all intents and purposes, starting a nuclear war. We need to be very clear what we're talking about. This was yesterday. At least 100 pro-Damascus forces killed in the United States attack on Syria. CENTCOM announced that United States-led coalition forces in Syria had opened fire at pro-Syrian government forces in defense of the Syrian Democratic Forces headquarters. Damascus is yet to comment on the attack. The United States has opened fire in another country in defense of terrorists. Let that settle for a moment. Let that settle. This is where we are. We are the terrorists. We're the people who are supporting terrorists in order to undermine the actual government of that country. This is happening in real time. The United States military, the bravery of the people in the military is being leveraged by maniacs and hawks. This will be the Democratic Party also. This has nothing to do with parties. This is a certain degree of incompetence by Donald Trump on this, allowing this to take place. If you are not looking for a war with Russia, if you are not looking to escalate with Russia, then you would not have your forces attacking people who Russia has aligned themselves with. This is immensely problematic, and this is a slow crawl to war. Do they believe that Russia is joking when it says Russia says it will attack the United States planes that are bombing the Syrian military? This, today, is the United States planes bombing the Syrian military. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, if you're looking for the pretext of a war, if you're looking for reasons to start a major conflict, Russia has already drawn its line. You understand? It's drawn its line. No country is going to go back on the line that they draw. And I understand, Obama is weak. He's the guy who's riding on the back of a bear, and I know it wasn't a bear, it was a horse, but bareback, to get across this idea of masculinity. Boom, I'm strong, man. I can beat up this bear if I need to beat up this bear with my goddamn hands. You honestly believe that that guy who considers himself a strong man to some degree, who's riding on the back of horses bareback, who at one moment after the next tries to show off how strong and masculine he is, who has this man spread every time you see him walk. I'm making this point that if he draws a red line, he's not going to go back on that red line. If he says he is supporting Syria, he is supporting Syria. Attacks on the Syrian thing not only has potential to draw us into a war with Russia, that by itself, meaning your attacks on Syria, knowing that Syria aligned with Russia, creates somewhat of a pretext for Russia to engage itself more into this conflict. And it's drawing this red line on, if you attack Syria armaments, we will attack those planes that is attacking Syria. That's called a red line. He's drawn the red line. Now, whatever wiggle room or whatever he has on that red line, you can understand that this is a creeping threat of war. You don't even know for sure if Russian armaments had aligned itself, meaning was in the same place that the Syria forces were. And you're doing this in defense of terrorists who are trying to undermine that government. You're all intents and purposes assisting ISIS. I will put these articles in the queue. I will put these articles in the queue. Part of the reason that people voted for Donald Trump was because they thought he was going to be conciliatory towards Russia. If that goes away, if he's so incompetent and ridiculous that he doesn't quite understand that this draws the United States into a potential for war, then their reasoning for voting for Donald Trump has been shown to be somewhat of a farce. Whether Hillary Clinton would have put missile defense shield in Syria, yes. You would have been at this point early on in the administration. Yes, that's true. But I would say a lot of us, I voted for Joe Stein, but my hope was, if Donald Trump won, that he would at the very least have enough shred of decency and competence to not engage himself into the ridiculousness of some conflict in this way. Syria is not on the border of North Carolina. The United States coming up with some vague and weird, ridiculous thing of, well, they attacked us. They attacked us in their country. Think about what's being said. They attacked us in their country. We shouldn't be there. We have no constitutional reason to be there. We have no reason to be there. We don't have just cause to be there. We have no good moral reason to be there. We have no political reason to be there. And yet, we are starting a major conflict. Us, the aggressors, starting a major conflict with Russia. I'm just saying, pause on that point. You're talking about a nuclear war. Pause on that point. Any conflict with Russia is most likely also a conflict with China. And at this point, a conflict with Syria. And maybe even a conflict with North Korea. And maybe even a conflict with Turkey. And Iran, by the way. Do you believe you're going to win this? And before you say yes, you understand that even if you win the technicalities of a ground war, what you're ultimately talking about is a nuclear conflict. If the United States is losing, the United States is going to its nuclear armaments. If Russia is losing, Russia is going to go towards its nuclear armaments and China's nuclear armaments. And do you honestly believe that that technology won't be passed to Iran in a mix like this, or that technology won't be passed to North Korea to make their weapons better? You are going to be hit. Either way, you're going to lose. Don't be this incompetent. Don't be this incompetent. And for Trump supporters who think this is a great fucking idea because you love Donald Trump, I'm sorry, your president is incompetent if your president allows this to happen. And the one shining point of allowing Donald Trump to win this contest was that he didn't seem to be batshit crazy towards Russia. But that's off the table if this allows to go past the way this is going. This is a creeping move to war. That's my point. That's my point. Let's see. Let's take a few. And now here we are again. Yes, Spartan Guard. Here we are again. Here we are again. Whether you pick Hillary Clinton, whether you pick Donald Trump, here we are again. John F. Kennedy might have been smart enough, clever enough, to get us out of a nuclear conflict with Russia. Do you have the same confidence for the neocons in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party? And when you say neocons at that point, that's the entire party. Do you have confidence that these warhawks, these incompetent warhawks, these people who don't give two shits about the public itself and is looking purely out for the interests of the top 1%, do you have any confidence that these people would in any way be able to maneuver their way out of preventing a larger conflict? Do you believe Donald Trump has the political acumen of John F. Kennedy? And don't lie. Don't lie. Do you believe Donald Trump has the political acumen of John F. Kennedy? And the skill to get us out of a nuclear conflict with this creeping escalation of the United States starting a goddamn nuclear war? So, Captain Obvious, hey Jamal, will you be doing a video on Jake Kyle? Yes, I will. Yes, I will. That will be next. Winkle Burnberg, JFK started the nuclear conflict, which was solved. Won't put it past neocons today. They think that. So Winkle Burnberg, yes. Ultimately, yes. You could almost say the CIA started the conflict. I guess this thing of him trying to kill and off Castro, and Castro running to the Soviet Union putting weapons in Cuba. Here's the thing, though. The conflict, we need to put this in context. This will be as if terrorists, let's say drug lords, tried to take over the Mexican government. And in drug lords trying to take over the Mexican government, the United States says, we're going to help you. We're going to give you resources and armaments to help you stop the drug lords trying to topple the Mexican government. Russia comes and says, we're going to help the drug lords. We're going to help the terrorists who are trying to take over the Mexican government by giving them arms and resources. We're going to put bases in Mexico, in various regions, to help these drug lords and help these terrorists who are trying to take over the Mexican government to attack installations, government installations of Mexico. The United States at this point says, look, if you attack Mexican armaments, you are effectively attacking the United States. And we will attack your planes if you attack our armaments. And the United States says, fuck all, and still continue to attack Mexican armaments. In addition to giving weapons and materials, support to the drug lords and the terrorists who are trying to take down the Mexican government. You can understand that in this situation, Russia will be in the wrong legally by their own laws, whatever those laws were, and by international law. And morally, look atrocious. You're helping terrorists to undermine the actual legal government of that country. What is your defense? What is the argument that allows you to do this? I'm just saying, this looks bad. This looks bad, and this looks as a creeping thing to war. The Revelanches, Spartan Guard. The $20 million sure looks fishy. The amount of money can influence a politician. Why not a news anchor? Yeah, agreed. Robert Pouquet Ray. Anti-war candidates and activists are needed. Soon we'll go AI and automation warfare. It'll ramp up war on making it easier with tools. Yeah, I would say having a military that's where you have like 1 or 2% of the population that's in the military. You've gotten rid of the draft, and now you have the president with his own private military. Has that been better or worse? Has that helped or not? But Jamal, the United States didn't really bomb the Syrian government. Chink says it was a soft bombing. Soft bombing, my ass. A bombing is a fucking bombing. Spartan Guard Rex, or T-Rex, our SOS says we are in Syria indefinitely until Assad is removed. Then that's a problem. That's a problem. Russia isn't going anywhere. Syria is over there, thousands and thousands of miles away. We have no justification from our own constitutional laws to be there. We have no justification for international laws to be there. Syria is not on board with us being there. How were we there? And what is the legal grounds to which we've arrived in Syria? What is the legal grounds to which we're bombing in Syria? We have none. We have none. If Donald Trump has any validity at all, then he will pull this shit back. Because we are way overstepping our bounds. And we are definitely involving ourselves into a nuclear conflict. He can't be this incompetent. He can't be this incompetent. All right, I have one more that I want to do after this. That's going to be within 10 minutes. Now, that one is going to be on the interview between Cal and Jink. So, that should be interesting. In fact, that one is going to be at 5 o'clock or a little bit later. But yeah, I'm going to do the interview between Cal and Jink. So, look out for the notification just in case I do that one a little bit earlier than I'm expecting. All right, guys. Have a good one. And by the way, if you want to help the content, feel free to share, like, and subscribe. And of course, you can always support the Patreon or Super Cash. Thanks, guys.